It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
episode 2801. Mike Matthews at Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in Podcastro Valentino, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica, I have some things here that you'll find that's wonderful, and that you will listen to and go, thank you, Mike, for all the news that you just did and didn't rhyme.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
You're welcome. We are not, you and I, at some kind of big outdoor
Mike's
concert.
Daily
We're indoor
Podcast.
at Café Anyway.
Yeah!
But had we been outside at Coachella, we would have seen Grimes, what do they call her here? This is an article from Entertainment Weekly. Elon Musk's baby mama. Wow. That just, it's so, I don't know. It makes Elon look like he doesn't have time for Grimes or anybody. He's just got to keep moving because he wants to go to the Mars and he doesn't care about his kid or anything. Anyway, Café Anyway. And Grimes is like, how much younger than Elon? 20, 30, 40 years? I don't know how. She's so much younger than him. It's odd. All right, we won't go into that, but she had a tough time during Coachella, her set recently. She was forced to cut short her performance thanks to a major technical error. It was day 2 of the first week of the annual festival, and Grimes experienced one of the greatest horrors a body can go through, having to do math in public. Her trouble started about halfway through her set when her backing music was played at twice the speed. Now, the music you hear behind me, sometimes when I would perform in public.
And here's today's podcast picture.
I called it map music. Oh, and it's a picture of me back when I had a mullet back in the 80s. No, it's not. Let's not go that far back. Let's go back just a couple of days. And a nice picture from one of the beautiful green countrysides along here now in the East Bay and Bay Area. Our hills are still green with the sound of music. They won't be much longer, but they look oh so nice. See that at mikesdailypodcast.com, all the past podcast pictures and everything else. All right. So I would play at this coffee house called Full of Beans. The late, great Basil the Boxer never got to go to Full of Beans because it was down in Ventura. We never made it there. But he did hear me play music a couple of times. I don't know if he liked it or not, but I think he did kind of walk out on me a couple times, which hurt. That's all right. He walked out of the room while I was trying to play something. She said, "This is a difficult thing to explain, but we're having a major technical error. Don't judge me for being bad at calculating things." I didn't know Grimes could talk. That's the first thing that surprises me, but I'm glad she can. She's 36 years old. Oh, okay, maybe not that much younger than Elon, but she looks younger. She screamed into, not that 36 is old. Compared to me, it's a much younger. So, and Elon's about my age. That's all I'm saying. I'm doing math in my head and it's not doing well either. But she's a Canadian artist, and she screamed, just so you know, and she screamed into her microphone. I didn't know Canadian artists would scream into their microphones. I mean, Bryan Adams would sometimes go, "Ah!" And I'd hear that, or Geddy Lee would go, "Ah!" So maybe they do. While trying to mentally do the math to keep up with the track. "I'm trying to think. I'm not good enough at math for this blank," she explained. Clearly disappointed, Grimes apologized for the issue, saying that it wasn't her fault, and then ended the set early. Weekend 1.
Wow.
Yes, I guess it is still going on, of Coachella included performances from a reunited No Doubt that featured Olivia Rodrigo, as well as headlining gigs from Lana Del Rey. Doja Cat. The second weekend kicks off, giving Grimes another chance to at least brush up on her math skills. And speaking of that, Gwen Stefani calls No Doubt's last album Push and Shove confused and a struggle to make. I guess that was 2012. Gosh, well over 10 years ago.
The Nosebleed section.
And I don't even know what was on that. Hey, there's somebody here.
That day.
Oh my gosh. There were some people that just popped into Café Anyway that were very interesting. One of them used to work at KCRW in Santa Monica. Used to be a fundraiser for that. Oh my gosh. I was like, what? You worked there? I used to listen to that station constantly. I still download their top tune of the day. And now she works for a place in Washington, D.C. that raises money for the mall, the National Mall, that big, huge lawn there that's in between all the...
Yo, the mic tip.
All the free museums. That's what I remember, the free museums. Push and shove are two words that are... No, wait, the No Doubt album. We were discussing that and about how in Coachella they had Olivia Rodrigo show up and perform with Bathwater is what she performed with, No Doubt. And, you know, she shows up at a lot of people's concerts. She's Billy Joel brought her on stage and she sang a couple of her songs. So she's a fan girl.
It's pretty interesting.
Someone who enjoys other musicians, and other musicians are like, hey, she's cool, she writes her own stuff. What will come from her next is what people are wondering. But let's see. Push and Shove was the sixth studio album by No Doubt. It was released in 2012 by Interscope Records, their big record label. The album was a comeback album for the band, as their last album, Rocksteady, was released 11 years prior. Wow. And then the album...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It debuted at number 3. Let's see. Settle Down was the album's lead single. I don't think I remember that. Debuting at number 30, it peaked at number 34, so it didn't get too incredibly high. The album's title track, Push and Shove, featured Major Lazer and Jamaican reggae artist Busy Signal and was released as a promotional single the following month. Looking Hot was released as the second single from the album.
Mike's scavenger hunt.
As I'm looking for interesting news there and fascinating stuff there. And okay, so we have this little bit of interesting news as well. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valentino, the last place on Earth in the land of Ameritopica. This is an interesting topica. Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas. She's a Democrat. She floated the idea of granting Black Americans an exemption from paying taxes.
For your entertainment, the one, the only, Mike Matthews!
That's me, I think. So that would be a form of reparations, is not paying taxes. Although she admits the plan might run into some problems. I don't know, the government always wants money, so... And it seems like most governments, including the federal government, are always in a state of massive debt. Looks like they're constantly going to go bankrupt. I don't know where they're going to find the money for all this. So, let's see. Then there is, in the United Kingdom, in England...
Ridiculous random post.
Here's some random posts that came from the National Review, slightly leaning to the right in a conservative sort of way. They say an independent review of gender-related medical care for minors and young adults submitted to the UK's National Health Service found that previous studies on the topic are of poor quality, and there is very limited evidence on the long-term outcomes associated with medicalized transition. NHS England commissioned the independent review of gender identity services for children and young people in 2020. And their report recommends that children and young people referred to the National Health Service for gender-related services receive a holistic assessment that includes screening for neurodevelopmental conditions, including autism, spectrum disorder, and mental health assessment. The New York Times says, in England, brewing concerns about the surge of new patients reached a boiling point in 2018 when 10 clinicians at the National Health Service Seoul Youth's Gender Clinic, known as the Tavistock Gender Identity Development Service, formally complained that they felt pressure to quickly approve children, including those with serious mental health problems, for puberty blockers in England. They are going to try to reassess that maybe puberty blockers given out that quickly is not a good idea. The also National Review saying the transgender identifying male student who was admitted into Kappa Kappa Gamma at the University of Wyoming is suing the local lawmakers who represented 6 female students in their case to remove him from the sorority. In March of last year, the female plaintiffs sued Kappa Kappa Gamma and its president, arguing that their chapter's decision to admit a man violated the national organization's corporate charter. This Artemis Langford was also named as a defendant, given that the litigation directly impacted his Kappa Kappa Gamma membership. Now, a year later, that litigation started. Langford has alleged abuse of process, malicious prosecution, intrusion upon seclusion, and international infliction of emotional distress against the women's legal team in a new lawsuit, and arguing that women weaponized the legal system to publicly bully and humiliate him while seeking donations to pay for their attorney fees. If you didn't know, that's what's happening there in the University of Wyoming. Their bit of controversy. It's interesting what the universities go through. I know someone who knows someone who knows someone at Berkeley, and you know how UC Berkeley leans, that they try to be very inclusive and keep the equity thing going, the diversity thing and inclusion thing going. And, well, they run into all kinds of, because someone always feels left out.
Baloney. Somebody
always feels slighted, no matter what they do, no matter how sensitive they try to be. I'm just saying that the sensitivity level, as someone who has been called sensitive in his life, oh, Mike is such a sensitive little boy.
What in the world was that about?
Yes. I'd be like, no, I'm not. And then I'd cry. But that's just when we get a little too overboard is all I'm saying. We got to watch that. A little bit of moderation going
Matthews News.
Langford complained that the women's lawsuit attempted to spark public outrage at Ms. Langford's expense by including allegedly irrelevant descriptions of his height, 260 pounds, 6'2", and masculine appearance. The original lawsuit also claimed he had taken no steps to transition, an inaccurate suggestion, according to the complaint. Look who's outside a Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, 10, the last place on earth. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing? I didn't know that if you talked to my horse, Nelly. Hello, Nelly. Oh, look who else is here.
Hey, it's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
All that stuff is crazy, hoo-ha and whatnot, and the complicated, strange world. It's a mixed up, messed up, troubled world except for Lola. L-O-L-A Lola. That's a Kinks song, Mike.
I remember the Kinks. Did you play fiddle on that song?
I might have. I don't think... Does that song have any fiddle?
I don't think it... Maybe it doesn't. But look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make the least group of hits ever.
Thank you. Oh. That's great. What's in it?
Chocolate.
I don't think chocolate and root beer quite goes... But okay. That's this mixed up, crazy, muddled up, crazy world, except for Lola. And that's the way that song goes, I think. Or does it? Well, you can call and tell me. Here's the number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640. Will ya shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Phone for All.
Girls will be boys, boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, and shook up world, except for Lola. That's how it goes. And with all things Mike's Daily Podcast and more info, here is... Oh, and then I talked to somebody who knew Barry Manilow. Speaking of Lola, she named Lola, and said he's not very tall, and that his dad used to design his shoes in Palm Springs. Fascinating. The people you meet at Café Anyway. It's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!